The F-35 Lightning II, over $500 billion program, most advanced fighter jet ever built, operated or ordered by more than 15 countries worldwide. But here's what most people don't realize. Not one of America's closest allies, not Canada, not the UK, not even Australia, has full access to the software that controls their own F-35s. The Pentagon maintains strict restrictions on source code access, and when allies asked for independent control, when they requested the ability to modify and maintain their own aircraft without American oversight, the answer was no. Every F-35, regardless of which country owns it, depends on American-controlled logistics systems for maintenance planning, software updates, and mission support. Every major modification requires going through Pentagon-controlled channels. Every software upgrade flows through American networks. Britain spent billions as a development partner. They still can't independently modify core software. Australia committed to 72 aircraft worth billions. They can't access source code for critical systems. Canada is ordering 88 jets. They'll rely on American authorization for major updates and modification. This isn't about technology sharing between equal partners. This is about control. The Pentagon designed the most sophisticated fighter on Earth, then structured the program so that nobody, not even America's closest allies, can operate it with complete independence from American oversight. And when allies complained, when they argued this compromised national sovereignty, when they pointed out that their own air forces shouldn't need American permission for their own aircraft, the Pentagon's position didn't change. What you're about to learn reveals how modern military alliances actually function, because beneath the rhetoric of partnership and cooperation lies a harder reality, one built on dependency, designed into the architecture, maintained through control of the one thing that matters most in modern warfare: software. What the F-35 actually is. Start with understanding the aircraft itself, because grasping the control issue requires understanding what makes the F-35 different from every fighter that came before it. The F-35 Lightning II isn't just a fighter jet with some computers added. It's fundamentally a flying computer system that happens to have engines, weapons, and a pilot. The aircraft contains over 8 million lines of code. That's more software than any aircraft in history, more than the Space Shuttle, more than a Boeing 787. Everything runs on integrated software, flight controls, sensor management, weapon systems, communications, electronic warfare, maintenance diagnostics, mission planning, all connected through networks that make the aircraft function as a unified system. Sensor fusion is the signature capability. Every F-35 collects data constantly: radar returns, infrared signatures, electronic emissions, data from other aircraft, information from ground stations. All of this gets processed through sophisticated algorithms that fuse the information into one coherent tactical picture. The pilot doesn't see separate radar displays and infrared screens and communication readouts. They see a unified display showing threats, targets, and friendly forces in real time, constantly updating, automatically prioritizing, driven entirely by software. But here's what matters for this story. All of that software, the sensor fusion algorithms, the mission planning tools, the diagnostic systems, the maintenance protocols, was written by Lockheed Martin under Pentagon contract, and access to the underlying source code that makes it all work, that's restricted. The Autonomy Logistics Information System, now rebranded as Odin. This is the logistics and maintenance backbone of the F-35 program. Every operator depends on it. Alice/Odin handles maintenance tracking, parts ordering, software update distribution, mission data management, diagnostic analysis. It's the system that keeps F-35s flying and combat ready, and it's hosted on servers in the United States, managed by Lockheed Martin under Pentagon oversight, accessed by allied operators through networks that connect back to Fort Worth, Texas. When Canada needs to plan maintenance for their F-35s, they access ALIS through American-controlled networks. When Australia wants software updates, distributed through the Odin system. When Britain requires diagnostic data, flows through American servers. The Pentagon describes this as network-centric logistics, integrated supply chain management, enhanced interoperability, efficiency through centralization. Allied defense officials describe it differently. They call it dependency, American control over sovereign military assets, infrastructure that requires continuous connection to systems they don't control. The partnership that wasn't. Now here's where the politics get complicated, because the F-35 program wasn't supposed to work this way. This was sold as a partnership, multiple nations contributing to development, shared costs, shared benefits, industrial participation, technology access proportional to financial contribution. Britain joined as a Tier 1 partner, contributed approximately $2.5 billion to development costs. That's billions with a B. They were there from the beginning. British companies built components. British engineers worked on design. British test pilots flew prototypes. And Britain asked for what they thought partnership meant: access to source code, the ability to modify software for British-specific requirements, the capability to maintain and upgrade their aircraft independently without going through American channels for every change. The Pentagon said no. Britain got industrial contracts. They got to build parts. They didn't get source code access. Australia, Tier 2 partner, contributed hundreds of millions to development, fought alongside America in every major conflict since World War II. Five Eyes intelligence partner, AUKUS alliance member, committed to purchasing 72 F-35s, billions of dollars, asked for the ability to independently maintain their aircraft, requested source code access to integrate Australian-developed systems, wanted assurance they could operate their jets without complete reliance on American infrastructure. Pentagon denied those requests. Australia got standard terms. American oversight, no exception. Canada, NORAD partner, shares continental defense with the United States. NATO founding member, ordering 88 F-35s in a $19 billion program. Want to modify software for Arctic operations? Want to integrate Canadian communication systems? Want independent operational capability in case of network disruptions? Pentagon's answer hasn't changed. Now here's what makes this particularly revealing. There's a precedent. One country negotiated different terms. Israel. Israel operates F-35Is. The I explicitly denotes Israeli modifications. They negotiated the right to install Israeli-developed systems, access to certain software elements, the ability to maintain aircraft with greater independence from American logistics networks. Why did Israel get special treatment? Because they made it non-negotiable. Either they got autonomy to protect sources and methods of their intelligence operations and maintain operational security, or they wouldn't buy the aircraft, and the Pentagon accepted those terms. But Canada, Britain, Australia, partners who contributed to development, they get standard restrictions. American control, limited autonomy. The message is clear. Leverage matters more than partnership status. How this works in practice. Let me show you what these restrictions mean operationally, because this isn't abstract policy. This affects how Allied air forces actually function. Scenario 1. Software updates and modifications. Canada wants to integrate a new communication system, maybe something specific to Canadian forces that improves interoperability with other Canadian platforms, or perhaps a system that works better in Arctic conditions where Canadian jets operate regularly. Integrating new systems requires modifying software, which requires access to source code, which Canada doesn't have. So they submit a request to Lockheed Martin, who evaluates it, who consults the Pentagon, who decides whether to approve the modification, how long it takes, what it costs, whether it happens at all. The aircraft belongs to Canada, paid for with Canadian taxpayer money, flown by Canadian pilots, defending Canadian airspace and territory, but Canada can't modify it without American permission. Scenario 2. Maintenance and logistics planning. Australian F-35s require routine maintenance. The diagnostic systems detect an issue that needs addressing. Maintenance planning relies on ALIS/Odin. That system is hosted on American servers, accessed through networks that connect to the United States. The data flows through infrastructure Australia doesn't control. Now in normal operations, this works fine. The system functions, maintenance gets planned, parts get ordered. But what if there's a diplomatic dispute between Australia and the United States? What if a future American administration takes a harder line on Allied burden sharing? What if network connectivity becomes unreliable during a crisis? The architecture creates dependency, and dependency creates vulnerability. By the way, if you're finding this analysis valuable, make sure to support the channel. It helps us keep producing these deep dives into defense technology and alliance politics. Why the Pentagon draws this line. Now let's examine the Pentagon's reasoning, because there are legitimate arguments for maintaining strict control. Technology protection is the primary justification. The F-35 contains some of the most advanced military technology ever developed, stealth coatings that make it nearly invisible to radar, sensor algorithms that process vast amounts of data in real time, electronic warfare systems that can jam enemy communications while protecting friendly networks, weapons integration that allows precision strikes from beyond visual range. This technology represents decades of research and hundreds of billions of dollars in development costs. If the source code gets compromised, if adversaries reverse engineer the algorithms, if stealth characteristics are understood and countered, the entire program's effectiveness could be undermined. And the threats are real. China and Russia conduct sophisticated cyber operations targeting Western military technology constantly. Industrial espionage, network infiltration, insider recruitment. The Pentagon documents hundreds of attempts annually to steal F-35 technology. Here's the uncomfortable calculation the Pentagon makes. Every country with source code access is a potential leak point. Every additional computer system storing the code is a potential target for cyber attack. Every engineer with access is a potential insider threat, either through coercion or recruitment, not because America's allies are enemies, but because even close allies have varying levels of cybersecurity capability. Intelligence agencies aren't equally resourced. Insider threat programs differ in effectiveness. Network security varies. The Pentagon looks at this and minimizes access, even to allies, especially to allies who might face sophisticated cyber threats from China or Russia. Turkey provides the cautionary example. Turkey was a partner nation, NATO ally, purchasing F-35s. Then they bought Russian S-400 air defense system. The Pentagon's concern wasn't that Turkey would deliberately share F-35 technology. The concern was that Russia could analyze how S-400 radar tracked Turkish F-35s, potentially learning to counter stealth characteristics. Turkey got removed from the program entirely. Production stopped. Delivered aircraft weren't delivered. Training halted. If America won't let a NATO ally have F-35s because of potential indirect intelligence leakage, why would they share source code with anyone? Then there's intellectual property. Lockheed Martin spent decades developing this technology. The software represents enormous commercial value. It's proprietary. It's competitive advantage. Sharing source code means sharing intellectual property, which could potentially be reverse engineered, used in competitor systems, leveraged for commercial advantage by companies in allied countries. From Lockheed Martin's perspective, and by extension, the Pentagon's, every country with source code access is a country that could theoretically use that knowledge in ways America can't control. The sovereignty problem. But here's where Pentagon policy creates serious problems for allies, real operational and political issues that go beyond technical concerns. Operational independence is the first major concern. Modern warfare moves fast. Decisions happen in hours or minutes. Flexibility and adaptability matter. If allied air forces need to modify systems in response to new threats, they want that ability immediately. Can't plan maintenance optimally. Can't update systems. Can't access full diagnostic capabilities. The aircraft still fly. Basic operations continue, but advanced capabilities degrade. Effectiveness reduces. This isn't hypothetical concern. Defense officials in Canada, Britain, and Australia have raised exactly these issues in public forums. Parliamentary committees have questioned the implications. Defense policy papers have analyzed the vulnerabilities. Then there's sovereignty, and the Pentagon knows it. The bottom line. Here's the uncomfortable truth beneath alliance rhetoric. America won't share F-35 source code with even its closest allies, because maintaining control is more strategically valuable than accommodating sovereignty concerns. The Pentagon prioritizes technology protection and strategic leverage over allied operational independence. Canada, Britain, and Australia operate F-35s that they don't fully control, can't independently modify without American approval. And there's no indication this will change. If anything, as warfare becomes more software dependent, these restrictions will likely expand to other systems. So here's my question for you. Is the Pentagon right to protect F-35 technology this aggressively? Or are they undermining alliances by refusing to trust America's closest partners with source code access? Are these restrictions genuinely necessary for security? Or is this fundamentally about maintaining control over allies through technological dependency? Drop your perspective in the comments. And if you think this is the only weapon system with these restrictions, you're not paying attention to how modern military alliances actually function. Hit that like button and subscribe for more analysis of defense technology and alliance politics. Because the future of warfare is software, and whoever controls the code controls the capability.